The early chapters of Genesis, particularly chapter 6, have intrigued and puzzled readers for centuries. In this chapter, the sons of God marry the daughters of men, and their offspring are the Nephilim, described as mighty men of renown. Many have interpreted the sons of God as fallen angels who took human wives, but a careful reading of Genesis, along with other clues in Scripture, suggests a different explanation. The sons of God are the descendants of Adam, specifically those bearing the divine image of God and tasked with a priestly role, while the daughters of men represent another race of humans living outside of Eden. This video will argue that the sons of God were not angels, but rather Adam's descendants, who were meant to represent God's rule on earth, and how their failure led to the rise of the Nephilim, mighty rulers whose tyranny contributed to the corruption of the world before the flood. Adam, the first man made in God's image and thus the first son of God. To understand Genesis 6, we must first understand Adam's unique status. Genesis 1:26 through 27 tells us that Adam was created in the image of God, a status not given to any other living being. This divine image was not a physical resemblance, but a spiritual and moral calling. Adam, as the first human, was tasked with representing God's authority on earth, taking dominion over creation and maintaining God's order. Adam and his descendants were intended to function as a royal priesthood and kingly line, mediating God's presence and dominion on earth. Yet, Genesis hints that Adam and his immediate family were not the only human beings. When Cain, Adam's son, was cast out after murdering his brother Abel, he expressed fear that others would kill him. Genesis 4:13-14. This suggests that there were already other humans outside of the immediate family of Adam and Eve, humans who were not part of the same divine calling. These other humans likely represented an earlier race, created by God, but not given the same spiritual vocation or bearing the divine image. The sons of God, Adam's divine lineage. With this understanding, we can now consider the sons of God mentioned in Genesis 6. The term sons of God can be understood as referring to the descendants of Adam who were created in God's image. The divine image set Adam and his line apart from other humans. These sons of God were meant to be holy, set apart for God's purposes, representing his rule on earth. Genesis 5:1-3 emphasizes that Adam's descendants, starting with Seth, continued this line of godliness. Thus, the sons of God were those who were called to live in Eden's vicinity, preserving the divine order. However, some of Adam's descendants rebelled against their calling. Genesis 6 tells us that they saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Genesis 6:2. These daughters of men were women from the other human race, outside the lineage of Adam. By marrying them, the sons of God forsook their divine vocation, mixing with those who were not created in God's image. This intermarriage resulted in a blending of the two lines, Adam's godly lineage and the other race of humans. The Nephilim, mighty men and tyrants. The offspring of this union between the sons of God and the daughters of men were the Nephilim, described as the mighty men of old, men of renown, Genesis 6:4. The term Nephilim does not necessarily refer to giants, as is often thought, but rather to powerful leaders and rulers. The Nephilim were tyrannical rulers who imposed their will on the people. Their rise to power was a direct consequence of the blending of the divine, priestly lineage of Adam's descendants with the human race outside of Eden. By intermarrying with the daughters of men, they were able to expand their rule and empire far outside of the area of Eden. The result of this intermixing was widespread corruption. The rulers of the earth, the Nephilim, were not just strong or powerful, but also wicked, using their might to oppress others. Genesis 6:5 states, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time." The world had become so corrupted by the violence and tyranny of these rulers that God decided to bring about the flood to cleanse the earth. Noah, a pure-blooded descendant of Adam. Amid this moral and spiritual decay, Noah stands out as a beacon of righteousness. Genesis 6:9 says, "Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God." Noah was not only righteous in his conduct, but also in his lineage. He was a pure-blooded descendant of Adam according to the genealogy given in Genesis 5, untainted by the intermixing with the other human race. This purity is not about race in the modern sense, but rather about being part of the divine lineage that bore God's image and was called to represent his rule on earth. Noah's untainted lineage made him the ideal candidate to carry on God's purposes after the flood. In Noah, God preserved the line of Adam, the line meant to bear his image and fulfill the royal priesthood mandate. By saving Noah and his family, God ensured that his plan for humanity would continue, even after the corruption brought about by the Nephilim and their oppressive rule. Through preserving Noah, the race of Adam, the son of God, would be preserved and repopulate the earth, forming our current humanity, where we are all divine image bearers of God.